to record a takeaway electronically, you are welcome to head back to your home team, open up your device, put in this web address, click, and you will see it populate everyone's responses. If you don't have a device and you want to share it as something publicly, bother someone who has a device or record it on a sticky note and we'll type them in. Okay? So those are our two ways in which we're going to reflect. So everyone back to your home groups, and let's go ahead and see if we can populate this chart.
I'm going to give you something for the two of you to talk about, and you're going to have about 2 minutes to talk, each of you. So make sure that you have enough time for each of you to have that conversation. Okay, so I want you to think about your time in the classrooms. What did you see? How did the thinking strategies support understanding in the classroom where you got to linger this morning? That's what you and your partner get to talk about for about 2 minutes. Have a conversation. Stand close to each other so you can hear each other.
Working on inferring, so they were very comfortable in their how they were talking to each other. They weren't afraid to take risks. So that I think helped to deepen their understanding, where they could feel free to say they disagree or that didn't make sense. So I think we each of there was definitely affecting how much they understood and inferred.
All right, this group is going to answer our first quiz question one word at a time, beginning with, what's your name, sir?
Tyler.
Tyler is going to start it off. Here's their question. How do the thinking strategies support understanding? Tyler's the first word of the answer. Then Tyler gets to choose the direction of who's going to be the second word. And they're going to keep looping around until the thought is complete. If the thought is complete, the person who believes it is complete gets to say the word period. And that ends the answer. All right. So Tyler, you're going to say one word.
Thinking.
Strategies are
Very
necessary
to teach
students
Higher.
levels.
and
Help.
understanding
and learning.
Become.
that's good.
You're good.
Go, Amanda, go.
Productive.
Period.
I have a takeaway from yesterday that's been running through my mind from my time with you all. Do any of you all have takeaways from yesterday, from thinking back 24 hours? Anything that's running through your mind? Maybe even from our conversation at the end of the day or something during the day? Do you have one? I do. Phyllis, my takeaway comes from your comment. When I was asking the question about the potential long-term benefits, and the conversation was about Amy Allen's classroom and people who had visited that classroom, and the discussion was about that long-term impact. And you, for the first time I've ever heard you talk like that, you very assertively interrupted and said, yes, I know there's a long-term benefit, and you went on to tell us why. Because you get her kids, and you know what the difference is when they come to you. And that was my takeaway from yesterday. And with your permission, I'm going to tell her that story and about how powerfully it came through in this conversation. And I think it wasn't just me, because a lot of you are nodding about
You
that.
know, it was who you visited with yesterday.
Yeah?
You can tell. I mean, I know because I see the teacher's name there, but I could look blindly at my kids and know which ones came from that room.
And know they came
because
from
of
that.
the language they come with.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So may I tell the story?
You may tell the story.
Thank you. So how was today?
Good.
Did you see? Did you answer any questions today that maybe were still in your mind yesterday? Lyle, I'm going to ask you to go first. You're nodding. You nodded both questions.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
good.
coming from a second grade, most of my years of experience has been in second grade, and I was very accustomed to reading groups and seeing my readers every day, and being very structured in what that reading group felt like. And so going from that to not even changing grades, but just moving into thinking strategies and the workshop model, conferring doesn't feel that the same way. So seeing Janice Buller today pull a group at the beginning of conferring that she noticed needed some reteaching from the day before showed me that it can still feel that way. Like, what do you do when they're struggling, and how do you meet those needs? And so that was one way of seeing that you can still pull a small group. It doesn't have to be just one-on-one conferring or just two-on-one conferring. So.
Well, it's just kind of a general comment. Steve even mentioned something about the flow and how kids are so engaged with their learning, and you know, they're so excited, the bell rings and they're like, oh, I want to come back to it. And I saw that in Amy Allen's class, and they were kindergartners working on the questioning strategy, and these guys, some of them could read, some of them could not, but they were engaged the whole time, and it was just so wonderful to see how she was, you know, digging this deeper thinking out of them, when you would think that from a kindergartner you would get this kind of thinking. And then at the very end, she did this both days to wrap up. She went back and said, how does questioning help you become a better reader? How does it help you think through things? And they were able to answer those questions. So it was beautiful to see, and I want to develop that flow too.
Taught seventh grade last year at that school with that lesson from Springboard, and to see that lesson reworked with thinking strategies is very specific to me. It helps me specifically teach my lessons and how to put thinking strategies in there, and also simplify Springboard for me because there's so much, and then kind of thinking strategies kind of make it just go deeper, but just less steps.
I saw first graders using strategies that we use in fifth grade. They were reading informational text, asking questions, using post-it notes to hold their thinking, questioning on one post-it note and then putting their answer on another. And she was pushing them towards those big questions, but they were doing the exact same thing that our fifth graders do. It was cool to see, and we're holding their own in the midst of it as well.
I'd like to think that I'm intentional when I plan, but after these 2 days, it's really going to change for me. Being intentional about planning for understanding, and how can I plan for understanding through using discourse and reflection and conferring, and not an exit slip, or something that's active. And music making is active when we're doing it, but how can we analyze what we just did together through discourse and me talking with individuals? So intentionality, I guess, is the biggest word that's really spoke to me today.
So I've been trying, I realized this today, I've been trying to teach content through the lens of thinking strategies, and every time my instructional coach asks me, what's really important in your classroom, I always have the same answer. I want to teach you to think. I honestly don't care if they learn this and this and this fact. They can look that stuff up on Wikipedia. I just want them to be able to think. And I've just been struggling to figure out, how do I do that? What am I doing wrong? I feel like I'm not there. And so today, my big epiphany was that I've been totally teaching the wrong way. I've been trying to teach content with the lens of thinking strategies, when what I should really be doing is teaching them to think with the concept, or with the lens of the concept. I think that's really going to completely change the way I plan, rather than when I go to plan, I'm not going to be saying, what do I want them to know? I'm going to be saying, what do I want them to think? And then through that, they will learn the concept.